after a new fatal shooting by ICE agents in Minnesota, and amid a growing public backlash fueled by video evidence. Recent data indicates that support for the agency is declining further. CNN is analyzing the shift in public opinion regarding ICE, comparing past and present sentiment. The numbers reveal a stark change. During Trump's first term, ICE's net approval rating was roughly even. By June 2025, amid unrest in Los Angeles, it had plummeted to 17. Following the Minneapolis incident, it has dropped even further to 27. This decline has occurred under the oversight of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, whose leadership has coincided with increasingly unpopular actions. The trend extends to the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, as a whole. In late 2017, during Trump's first term, 59% of Americans rated DHS as doing an excellent or good job. By late last year, that figure had fallen to 42%. Multiple polls tell the same story. The popularity of both ICE and DHS has eroded significantly during the second Trump administration. The aggressive operations in cities like Minneapolis and Los Angeles have been widely rejected by the public, creating what analysts describe as a political disaster. In response, President Trump is deploying former ICE Director Tom Homan to Minnesota, a move that raises questions about the leadership of DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, who has been prominently involved in these operations. Noem's own net approval rating has fallen from 11 in July 2025 to 16 currently. Every poll conducted on her popularity has returned a negative rating. This presents a notable shift for a president who was re-elected partly on a platform of strict immigration enforcement. The administration's approach is now facing intense scrutiny, not only from opponents but from within its own coalition. A broader reckoning. CNN senior reporter Stephen Collinson notes that these events are triggering a national reckoning over America's foundational principles, especially as the country approaches the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. The clashes highlight a deep tension between federal and state power, a core issue since the nation's founding. Videos circulating widely contradict the federal government's narrative of events, undermining public trust. The administration's pattern, initially labeling individuals as threats before evidence suggests otherwise, has become familiar. This incident follows a similar shooting less than 3 weeks prior in Minnesota, where the official account was also challenged by video evidence. The Second Amendment irony. A particularly charged aspect of the story involves the right to bear arms. The individual shot in Minneapolis was legally carrying a concealed weapon, a right enshrined in the Second Amendment and strongly supported by Trump and his base. The chief of border forces stated that such rights don't count when you riot, assault, delay, obstruct, and impede law enforcement officers. However, video evidence does not show the individual brandishing his weapon at officers, and reports suggest he was disarmed before being shot. This has prompted concern from pro-gun groups, including the NRA, traditionally key Republican allies. Meanwhile, progressive leaders, who typically advocate for stricter gun control, find themselves defending an individual's constitutional right to carry a firearm at a protest. The situation underscores a profound and quintessentially American political conflict, pitting federal authority against state autonomy, official narratives against citizen journalism, and sweeping enforcement tactics against constitutional rights. The political ramifications continue to unfold, straining the administration's coalition and challenging the public's trust. With a partial government shutdown looming this Friday, Senate Democrats are wielding their leverage in a dramatic shift, threatening to block a critical funding package over their opposition to immigration and customs enforcement, ICE operations. The stakes of the standoff. A package of 6 appropriations bills, which would fund major agencies like the Defense, Labor, and Health and Human Services departments, is stalled. The key point of contention is the inclusion of funding for the Department of Homeland Security, DHS. Democrats are demanding the DHS bill be considered separately to force a debate on ICE, which they accuse of authoritarian overreach following recent violent incidents during enforcement operations. A change in Democratic strategy. This marks a significant tactical change. Just last week, passage seemed assured. Now, Democrats are unified in their refusal, with even previous dealmakers who helped end the last shutdown standing firm. Independent Senator Angus, who caucuses with Democrats, stated he can't vote for a bill that includes DHS funding under the current circumstances. In the House, Representative Tom Swatsey, DNY, who voted to reopen the government during the last shutdown, now calls that vote a mistake. The change is attributed to escalating tensions over ICE's conduct. Recent footage and the deaths of civilians in Minnesota, including a man witnesses say was trying to help a woman being detained, have hardened Democratic resolve. Representative Angie Craig, D-Min, argued, "Democrats cannot keep acting like these are normal times." She framed the funding vote as a historic test, urging her colleagues to use the lever they have to get ICE out of Minnesota. The path to a shutdown. The procedural hurdles are high. The House is in recess, and any single senator can delay proceedings past the Friday deadline. With Democrats unified against the package and Republicans unwilling to strip out the DHS bill, a partial shutdown appears almost certain. Political reckoning and the White House. The standoff is causing political unease on both sides. Some Republicans reportedly worry the controversy will hurt them in the midterms. Within the White House, sources indicate a debate is underway over whether to scale back some of the aggressive DHS enforcement operations that have drawn public outrage. The Democratic position has moved beyond policy disagreements to a more fundamental condemnation. Some lawmakers and local officials are now labeling ICE agents as domestic terrorists, arguing they are doing exactly what they've been trained and enabled to do. As the deadline nears, Democrats are framing this not just as a budgetary fight, but as a moral stand against what they see as unconstitutional overreach, betting that public sentiment will side with them. Minneapolis, federal immigration officers shot and killed a man during a confrontation with protesters on Saturday morning. The deceased has been identified as Alex Preddy, a U.S. citizen and an ICU nurse at a local Veterans Affairs hospital. This marks another controversial use of lethal force by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE agents, and is the second fatal shooting of a U.S. citizen by immigration authorities this month. An in-depth CNN analysis of multiple cell phone videos from the scene appears to contradict the initial account provided by the Department of Homeland Security, DHS. Video analysis contradicts official narrative. The DHS statement claimed that an individual approached officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. However, video footage shows ICE officers approaching a group that included Preddy, not the other way around. The footage begins with Preddy filming officers interacting with protesters and directing traffic. He is heard yelling, "Hold up, please show me," before the situation escalates. While Preddy appears to have had a handgun in his waistband, a fact later confirmed by DHS, the video clearly shows he was holding only a cell phone at the moment officers first engaged him. Rapid escalation to lethal force. The video shows an officer pushing one protester, then Preddy, and then a third protester wearing an orange backpack. The officer then sprays the third protester with a chemical irritant. As Preddy and others move to aid the sprayed protester, several officers swarm Preddy, pulling him away and forcing him to the ground. One officer in a tan beanie is seen repeatedly striking Preddy's head with a metal canister. Shortly after, an agent in a gray jacket approaches Preddy, who is on the ground, and appears to remove the gun from his waistband. The agent is then seen stepping away, holding the firearm in his right hand. Gunfire erupts moments later. Audio analysis indicates at least 10 shots. Video from different angles shows one officer, wearing a black beanie, drawing his firearm and firing. A second officer also aims his weapon at Preddy, as shots are heard. Preddy collapses to the ground. The officer in the black beanie is seen firing 5 final shots at Preddy as he lies motionless. Officers did not approach his body for 24 seconds. When they did return, they appeared to search him. About a minute after he collapsed, agents requested medical support. When asked about the officer removing Preddy's gun prior to the shooting, DHS reiterated its earlier statement. Officers attempted to disarm the suspect, but the armed suspect violently resisted. Analysis. They created the situation. CNN's senior national security analyst Juliette Kayyem, a former assistant secretary at DHS, reviewed the video analysis. "I think we have to remember that they created it," Kayyem stated. "Every time I look at it, I am surprised how quickly it does the opposite of de-escalate. It is absolutely chaos. No one seems to be in charge." Kayyem criticized DHS for its shifting narrative, noting that after initially slandering Preddy, the department now claims it cannot comment during an ongoing investigation. The department cannot have it both ways, she said. Official response and broader implications. In an interview with CNN, Border Patrol Chief Patrol Agent Greg Bovino defended the agents and criticized freeze-frame adjudication of a crime scene. He stated all questions would be answered by the official investigation, which is being handled internally by federal authorities. The shooting has drawn criticism from unexpected quarters. The National Rifle Association, NRA, joined other gun rights groups in calling for a full investigation, noting Preddy was a lawful gun owner. Minnesota is a concealed carry state, raising questions about the justification for the use of force based solely on firearm possession. The incident echoes past debates over armed individuals at protests, drawing comparisons to the case of Kyle Rittenhouse. It highlights ongoing tensions regarding protest policing, federal law enforcement authority, and Second Amendment rights.